Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Three Hamster Boys. I, of course, am Alexander, your host. I'm joined by our father, Jeff.
Jeff the dad.
And my brother, Jeff's son, Nick.
Nick the son.
I'm also Jeff's son, but it felt weird to introduce
Nick
him that
the
way.
second son.
Alexander the first
The
son.
first side. Yeah, we are getting we're sinking our teeth back into season 2 here, running into or overcoming technical problems as well as relearning what it's like to be back in the studio and back recording and making sure we're doing everything right. So
Yeah, we became dumb really quickly.
Well, it's just there's a lot of things to keep track of in this small room, and a lot of moving pieces that we're still not fully familiar with, or we got to re-familiarize.
right, of course.
Plus, I mean, we're hoping to improve as we go along, so we're also trying to learn new things.
Moving
Fingers
pieces.
crossed. Yeah. All right. Well, Nick, let's just hop into it. What are we drinking today?
So we have a very exciting one that I'm very, very curious for. These cocktails are going to be really, really good. And the base for it is we went to the town of Powhatan, and we went to a lovely brewery called Three Crosses and picked up their coffee-infused whiskey.
I think they're technically a distillery, not a brewery.
Distillery.
Just in case there's like some pedantic people thinking about
A
it.
distillery.
Well, the crazy thing about this is that it was the day before a terrible ice storm.
A giant snowstorm, and everyone was walking in, getting their drinks in before.
Yeah, we tried to do another distillery, but they were not open.
But we'll
get back
we'll
to
catch that one.
It was closer than I thought it was.
Yeah, it wasn't too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about this. Also, I love drinking beers. I love drinking mead. I love drinking wine. But I love your cocktails. I absolutely love you doing the cocktails.
It's an exciting thing because we always do it blind.
Yep.
So it's a lot of first impressions. As you know, season 2, we started with beer, but for everyone not familiar, to start with, we do 3 cocktails for these kind of things. I try to switch them up and make them a little interesting to see sort of the flavor profile that whatever we're working with can be played with. And for the first cocktail, I always try to do a control, something very, very simple, and for us to really just capture the taste of the base alcohol itself. So we're starting with a mint julep.
Yep.
I thought coffee and mint just made a lot of sense. And so it's just mint muddled with some simple syrup and then just a lot of whiskey on top of it and some ice.
I love whiskey.
Heck yeah. As we're getting ready to hop in here, the theme for today, last time it was redeemed characters. And this time we're going on the inverse here. We're looking at traitors, characters that have strayed away or were always just the bad guys that we knew they were, and betrayed. So I'm hearing a lot of noises here.
So
What's happening?
This is honestly really incredible.
It is much better than I thought it would be.
It is so smooth, and I think the mint balance and the coffee infused part, it's like a slight breath.
Yeah.
When you exhale, you get like hints of this coffee note.
But it takes away a lot of the burning that whiskey normally has.
Yeah.
It is extremely smooth. This is going to be, we went through a lot of this bottle to make the drinks. This is going to be definitely a fast drinking episode.
Yeah. Wow.
I was about to say, this goes down too easy knowing that we're drinking whiskey here.
So also knowing that each glass contains 2.5 shots.
Oh, no. Did we say the distillery we went to is Three Crosses?
3 Crosses. I brushed over it, but super lovely place while we were
it was
there.
fantastic. And we were getting drinks, and we told the server, we said, we want these drinks and we want a bottle of the coffee whiskey. And she's like, do you want to taste it?
Yeah, do you want to taste it just to see how it is? And we're like, no. And
Yeah.
it was,
Well, we were trying to get what was the other one that was apple pie?
they had an apple spiced rum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was out of stock.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll come back.
The fun thing is this distillery in general did whiskey, it did gin, it had vodka.
Yeah.
It had some rum. So again, a big variety. The coffee whiskey was just a seasonal item. And we were like, okay, well, it's a limited batch seasonal item. Well, we got to get that. We got to see what that's about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like a lot of these distilleries, as they become more mature, they do more variety of different things rather than just focusing on one. Like when we went to Foothills Distillery, they were just doing the bourbon.
Right.
Or Ragged Branch,
Yeah, they were just getting their first batches out.
Well, yeah, they were fairly new, but yeah, I think that some focus on it, some give you a wider variety.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I do want to shout out, you had a Manhattan while we were there with a dark rye whiskey with
so tasty.
used in they put it in port barrels, like port wine barrels, and I think that added so much to the flavor.
that was extraordinary. It was a deep, once again, it's a high alcohol drink, but it was so deep and so
It was very rich.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was pretty close to the fullness of like this drink here.
Yeah.
So
Well, okay, enough singing
Very
praise
good.
about the alcohol here. Let's talk about betrayers. Let's get into the nitty gritty here. Dad, why don't you kick us off here? Who is the betrayer you have first on your list?
So number one, there are a lot of serious options that you could do here. Almost every spy story, every
Sure.
war
The double
movie,
cross.
Yes.
you always have this double cross. And most of the superhero ones, there's always there's a lot of times where there's a double cross in the middle of it, and then they're redeemed. So I decided to use a lot of off the wall ones.
Yeah.
Sure.
So my first one is Lotso, and I will admit it's out of Toy Story 3. Not a lot of people saw Toy Story 3.
I think it's got a little bit of traction.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you have seen Toy Story 3 because I know you and Mom are going through a Disney animated movie kick right now where you're watching all the animated movies that I didn't realize you hadn't seen before.
So this one was from your childhood, so therefore we saw it.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So
We watched Toy Story 3 with that drive-in movie theater where they were playing Prince of Persia.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that is right.
Wow, that's a deep cut to remember
Yeah.
that.
and they're rebuilding that drive-in.
Oh, that's cool.
So it should be open this coming year. So
We have a drive-in movie theater
I
that's
know.
not far from here.
I know. Anyways, so the reason it's a betrayal is because Woody and
Buzz.
Buzz
Buzz Lightyear.
get lost, and they end up in a daycare center, and there's Lotso, who's this teddy bear, who welcomes them in, is all welcoming and everything, but ultimately he becomes a bad guy,
Yeah.
and he tries to destroy them. But instead, if I remember correctly, this has been a couple of years,
Yeah.
he gets destroyed in the end.
Yeah,
himself.
I believe that.
Yeah, I think he gets incinerated.
Yeah.
Because his baby bodyguard sort of turned on him at the last because Lotso was like, we hate kids. Kids betrayed us. We were sent to the daycare.
Yeah, he said I was lost, and this is where I ended up. And
Yeah.
so they didn't care. Once again, it's a recurring theme about this idea of being separated or being lost, and it occurs in a lot of the Toy Story kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like your ties and connections have been, torn, and now you have this sort of bitter outlook afterward.
Yep. All right, so that's my first choice.
Wow, yeah. You even went one which was a betrayer gets betrayed in the end.
Yep.
That's true.
Very fun.
Yep.
All right, Nick, heading over to you. What do you got for us?
I think I'm gonna start with a very tame one.
Okay.
I think it's a little beloved, but it's like very classic.
Okay.
So I'm going to choose specifically John Silver from Treasure Planet. However, highly, highly inspired and basically a 1-to-1 from Treasure Island.
Yep.
Just a little bit more grander in the spectacle and that sort of animation era. But John Silver is a weird and very complex antagonist for the protagonist, because the movie starts and you get an inkling that like John Silver, that's the bad pirate. That's the one going after the map. That's the one who's going to be really cutthroat and will kill anyone to get these sort of mean, like the gold or the treasure. And he was silhouetted for the beginning. And when you actually see his character for the first time, that's not who he shows to Jim Hawkins.
No.
He shows a quartermaster that is very calm on his ship. He is a powerful presence and a one that should be looked up to in a positive light. He is still this sort of bilge pirate, but he has this code of ethics that he portrays to Jim, and also like, we're pirates, we're the rogues, we're the left behind, and we're all together. And if you're on the ship, you're sort of part of this greater group.
Yeah.
And through the movie, even though you know how dastardly he is, Jim Hawkins doesn't actually. Jim Hawkins was suspicious at the start, but John Silver creates this mentor role that's like very, very earnest and like is very, very powerful. And I think Treasure Island does it similarly in the fact that he sort of takes Jim under his wings and is like, I'm here for the treasure, and so long as we're good on that, like, we're okay, we're square. I just think there's so many powerful like positive notes that John Silver like offers to Jim to make him so trustworthy and this father figure that Jim didn't have.
Yeah.
Which, when this inevitable betrayal happens, it's not like oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. It's more of like this is like a conceded, it will happen.
Yeah.
And it's devastating, right? It's the fundamentals of our protagonist sort of fall away. He has to sort of grit his teeth and resist this, figure that he's looked up to. And I think thankfully it ends on a positive note. John Silver is building his connection with Jim, inevitably doesn't shoot him and eventually chooses Jim over the treasure.
Yep.
And in turn, Jim lets John get away. And there's just this, it's a very subdued betrayal, but I think it's just the note from a protagonist angle is like so, usually from the audience, you're following the protagonist, and like what the protagonist knows is like what you know most of the time.
Right.
But like, as an audience member, how bad this guy is, but our hero doesn't. And I think that's such an interesting perspective that it offers.
Sorry, as you're describing this, I made a connection, and hopefully it doesn't ruin anybody else's. But I was thinking of Uncharted the whole time.
There's a lot of betrayals.
There is. Actually, I did not have Uncharted in my list here, which is unfortunate.
There's the British Museum where that one guy gets you, and then Chloe is this sort of weird.
But I was thinking of Sully as the, there's times when he just lets him down.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sully does kind of fit in as that old mentor, almost father figure for Nathan at times too.
The greed,
Yep.
I think, good call.
Yeah. I think going back to Treasure Planet, though, it feels like the slow Band-Aid rip of betrayals.
Yeah.
Where, again, it's this inevitable thing. It's happening. You see John Silver having these meetings with the other pirates, and you know that the betrayal is going to happen.
Yeah.
But he then turns around and is like, Jim, my boy, and is like being very like, almost kind and affectionate in certain ways, while also making him like swab the deck 20 times. I like that a lot, and you're right, he does have a bit of a redemption at the end, so not
sorry
entirely
to step on last episode's toes.
I think sometimes it's hard though, because there are betrayals, and a lot of times it's more satisfying for an audience member to have a little bit of that redemption, especially a character like that is complex and you as the audience kind of grow attached to while you're watching the film.
Well, I think that in order to be a betrayer, there has to be a connection to that character to begin with.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
yeah.
It hurts more if you have that attachment to them.
Because we talked about it. If the guy's evil all the way, you have no attachment to him. You have nothing, no skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you have that attachment where you understand, or you think you understand what their motivation is and whatever, even though they betray you, go, well, I understand it. That's what that character is going to do.
It makes sense, but it hurts still.
Yeah,
I think that's the most impactful part of a betrayal.
Yeah.
What you got? We're still on part one.
Yeah, we're still on part one here.
We're getting in the thick of it already.
Yeah, I will say, the more we drink this, still delicious. Like, it still goes down so easy.
So tasty.
Well,
it is
it's
tasty.
Balanced.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It does not overpower.
Hallmark of a good drink.
Hey.
Yeah, it doesn't overwhelm with the whiskey taste. Doesn't overwhelm with the mint.
Yeah.
It's not too sweet. I think it's just such a well balanced.
Very tasty.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a little hard to get out of these glasses. I think that's my only complaint.
A little bit. We don't have a julep cup.
We don't, yeah.
So
Not yet.
Not yet, but we had some Collins glasses, and they said that Collins glasses work for muddling
This is just
as well.
to slow down our drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was about to say
that's what the ice is for.
That's the only way that it's slowing you down from taking your sibs. All right. For my character, I went with kind of a quintessential traitor, betrayer. And I think this character is less personable than some of the other characters that you've mentioned. This character is a traitor in the fact that he's infiltrated and has betrayed the trust, but you as the audience kind of hate him perpetually. And that's Grima Wormtongue from the Lord of the Rings series.
Yeah.
Where I don't think there's a point where you're ever like, yeah, that guy could be good. You are always looking at him like, that guy sucks. Whether he's, whispering, doing the classic Wormtongue thing into the ear of King Theoden.
Gandalf has arrived.
There's like no point where you like him. But he, I think, in my opinion, is one of those quintessential betrayers, because obviously King Theoden has been looked up, has been hailed as a wise king of men, is a leader to his people, and has gained the trust and respect of his people, and yet somehow has let this advisor in who is slowly poisoning him, literally and metaphorically. And then going even further than that, once Wormtongue is expelled, going back to his master Saruman, and betraying him too at the end. Like, this is a sleazy, this character is a betrayer. He's a traitor through and through. He never gets a redemption, and you don't really want him to at the end.
But so this is where we were talking about this. Is he a betrayer, or is he just out for his own good no matter what?
I think that's how traitors begin, right? It's the means, right? Like they have a goal or priority that takes the front no matter what, no matter who they're around, even if it's against an angelic being like Saruman the White, or just like the entirety of the Rohirrim, like they are doing it for. Also, like, Grima had that like weird thing where he's like, I'm gonna get Theoden's niece.
Oh my gosh.
Just a creepy, like he is just a slimy guy.
Yeah. Which, again, I guess in this way, it also kind of like a double betrayal situation, similar to Lotso, in the fact that Saruman the White was one of the good guys at one point, and then kind of is corrupted, turns away from the light.
I mean, if we just talk about Lord of the Rings as a whole,
oh my gosh,
right? Because it's basically a 1-to-1 for the Bible, and like Sauron was basically Lucifer, and just a whole bunch of falls and betrayals and plans within plans.
I was about to say it's C.S. Lewis and J.R. Tolkien, R.R. Tolkien, just being like, okay, let's just rewrite the Bible, but make it kind of fun with a bunch of war and stuff.
Make it a little cool.
Make the reading slow.
Describe every branch on this one tree.
Oh man, yeah. But yeah, so I think we did a lot of talking similar to redemption arcs and a lot of these other episodes. A lot of the back end that we do is talking about what kind of fits into this criteria, fits into this category. When we were talking about it, we were discussing, do we have a character that is a traitor, or are we going to look at moments of betrayal? And that was one of the big discussions that we were having.
Yeah.
Also, I think your mother's take, Sam was a betrayer.
Right.
Oh.
Because he took the ring.
Because he tried to take the ring from Frodo. There was a lot of discussion.
Yeah, there was a lot of
discussion, especially because part of the discussion was also like, depending on the perspective, one could be redeemed and a traitor at the same time. Like all of our redeemed characters are viewed as traitors from another perspective and so forth. That's why this one is more of like from a protagonist standpoint and sort of maybe a little bit more self-centered than a lot of the redeemed ones are for like the people or the greater good as they like to sort of play it. But there's a gray area 100% for these for this topic.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, which is why I think there was a lot of discussion there. What was the other one that our mother had said? Lando Calrissian.
Lando Calrissian. So I did not pick him. He was an obvious one, but for me, what we talked about earlier was he was just redeemed too quickly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and there is. I mean, the connection again. We meet Lando. He betrays you. You know, it happened too quickly in that regard, and then he flips again that quickly, and you're like, I can't really tell this like what he's on about. Right. You know, if he betrayed me again, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Right. Like you don't get a feel for Lando. It's like he's a charismatic guy, and he says that the Falcon is his. You know, like you're like okay.
I mean, and I think that longevity of description does matter because I think you have to be vested in that character. You were never vested in Lando. We talked about there's some characters in One Piece. I don't know whether you guys are going to pick one, but these may occur over hundreds of episodes.
Right.
You know? So.
Yeah.
Well,
do that.
Well, our drinks are just about done. I'm ready for cocktail number 2. We'll see y'all in the second part of this episode. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. And we are back. We've got very different looking drinks in front of us here. On to round 2.
And a live audience.
No need to mention. For this second drink, our second cocktail, I've done something for the first time. I always try to challenge myself for something new or just something a little different. So our palates get a little bit expanded and I familiarize myself with just a little bit more cocktail techniques and types. This go around, I worked with egg whites. What I learned was don't make a triple batch in a shaker and then do egg whites because it kind of just explodes.
It kind of explodes, yeah.
But we have the Amber Moon, which is egg whites, our whiskey, honey, cinnamon, lemon juice, and then some bitters to top it off.
Nice. That sounds good.
Wow.
I'm hoping for a very aromatic and more sweet, and hoping the coffee whiskey just evens it out a little bit just to cut through all those sweet notes.
All right.
But the egg whites, very simple actually. It wasn't really a challenge, but just something that I'm happy that I can be a little bit more comfortable with. They're making faces.
No, okay, we're making faces because it is such a complex drink.
There are a lot of flavors that hit your tongue when you take a sip out of it.
But then they change as it's in your mouth.
Yeah. As it kind of sits there, you do get a lot of that sweet. You get a lot of that cinnamon. I think that's the very forward kind of.
Maybe too much cinnamon.
Maybe a little. I don't know. I like the cinnamon. I feel like the egg whites is kind of like a. I don't know if that's the flavor I'm tasting, but it is.
It adds just a very loose texture at the beginning. Yeah, for the egg whites.
I think it adds a smoothness on my tongue too.
Yeah.
Once again, I don't think.
What are those sips?
Listen, I apparently should have just made more for this one.
No. I had 2 big sips because there was, like I said, there's really complex flavors in there. I do like the egg whites because I like that foaminess in your mouth.
Yeah.
Once again, it's either the whiskey is not that sharp, or once again, this has really mellowed out the whiskey a lot.
100%.
I do think in terms of the whiskey itself, I think a lot of the other flavors kind of overpower
It's a little
it
commandeered.
here. Yeah, and so I feel like in the mint julep we got a little bit more of like all the flavors and we could taste it and it was clean. This, I think, the coffee portion of the whiskey in particular doesn't really kind of
it gets drowned
stand
out.
out. Yeah.
There's a lot of strong flavors.
There's a lot
There are a lot
going
of strong
on.
flavors.
Either way, I think it's still pretty good, even if I'm using any kind of whiskey.
I agree. No, that is delicious.
The honey also.
Yeah.
I'm just getting those very like sweet notes in between, and then the lemon juice citrus just cleans it up to not make it feel just like an overly rich drink.
Yeah. And shout out here, the honey coming from a local apiary. So we're hitting up all the VA specials. All right, Nick, let's kick it off with you. Round number 2, specifically because I think when we left off here, Dad took a shot across the bow here.
Yeah.
It was only one piece at one.
Okay, so based on my reaction when he mentioned it and the sort of playfulness that we're going with right now, I did choose a character from One Piece, just to keep my pirate theming. I didn't mean to do that. Treasure Planet into One Piece. Yeah. I didn't mean to do that. But I feel like it's very accurate. Like pirates are seen as these sleazy and, bilge and, traitorous things that are greedy.
Yeah. Oh. He almost has an opinion against that.
I do have an opinion against that because, like, okay, a pirate is basically a robber, okay?
Sure.
And sometimes they're privateers. Sometimes they're independent
Sure.
contractors.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Right. So sometimes they're aligned with
a nation,
or they're not aligned with a nation. And I think that really guides them on how they act.
Well, I think this makes it even funnier because from One Piece, I'm not choosing a pirate.
Oh, okay.
I'm choosing someone that would be seen as a noble. I'm choosing a samurai.
Oh.
I didn't even know there was samurai in One Piece. Every time I feel like we do the podcast, I learn a little more about One Piece.
I think that's wonderful. So this is like the longest burn of a betrayal. And if you clicked on the video, you know you're going to hit some spoilers. Yeah. But I feel like for the journey of One Piece, you got to be aware that I'm going to say some spoiler stuff. Because this is a long con. To give you a reference, episode 629 is when this character is first referenced and introduced. And we do not get this character's betrayal until episode 977.
Oh my gosh. Perhaps the longest burn ever.
It truly was unexpected. And they introduced this new faction from a nation. The One Piece pirates, or the Straw Hat Pirates, Luffy's crew, were introduced to a samurai prince named Momonosuke. He's this kid, and him and one of his loyal retainers is like, we got to get back to our island. There's a lot of bad stuff going. We got to pick up a few other members before we get back to the island and convene all together to face this force. So through a variety of arcs and stories, we collect these samurai that hop onto Luffy's crew. And eventually when we get to the island, we have 9 samurai all together that are part of this sort of task force that serve Momonosuke the prince. They are completely aligned with the nation, and they're called the Red Scabbards, the 9 Red Scabbards. That protect the people and the government force of this island. And they finally reconvene, and they're all together, and it's revealed one of them betrayed. One of them is a traitor. One of them has been giving all of the information, all the movements, all the stuff to the enemy. And so you're left with being like, oh my God, I've met some of these 200 episodes ago, 100 episodes, all from different islands, and you're presented with who's the traitor. And like you're given a red herring character where you're like, he's the newest one, he's being this double agent, you're like, he's already prone to being a spy. And you're given other pieces where you're just like, I just don't want this person to be the traitor because it doesn't make sense and I really like this character. And eventually you realize that this character named Conjuro is the traitor. And Conjuro was someone you met very, very early on, as I was saying, in 629.
Early on.
Which I think around episode 670 or so, they rescue him from a island country called Dressrosa, and there was a huge mix-up. There were so many moving pieces in that arc. It was truly chaos.
I was about to say, that's one of the arcs that I've heard the name of before.
Yeah, that's one of the really big ones, mainly because that's the arc I got current on, and it still took 3 years to finish after that.
Oh my gosh.
So it's very, very, there was so much time with all of these characters, and the Betrayal he's also a funny guy. In One Piece, they deal with
not the funny one.
He's this very like awkward guy who's very weird, and One Piece operates on this power system called Devil Fruits, where you get some sort of power but lose the ability to swim, which is funny because the whole world is basically ocean with islands, so it's like a serious detriment. But his is what's the Purple Crayon? you know that book, the children's book?
Oh, where you could like draw things?
Yeah.
It, like, comes to life?
So whatever he draws comes to life.
Oh, okay.
But he's an awful artist. So he makes like really, really like cursed, like little, like, they're like, I'm going to draw a duck. And you're like, that's not a duck. But it technically flies. And you're like, I don't know why you chose a duck to fly. Right? Like there is such an absurdity. And he's just so charming because he's like, I'm gonna solve this problem with like this limitless potential, but can't draw, right? Like it's so charming of a character, which makes it even worse that when he betrays, he reveals that he can draw.
What?
So the fight is so much more intimidating, and you know that he's been a liar through and through.
Oh my god. Not only did he betray us in the main way, but also he betrayed us in the fact that he could actually draw this whole time.
Yeah.
But
That's
awesome.
It was super like it hits you in a weird spot where you're like, it's a minor character in the grand scheme of things, but when you get into a specific arc, every character is so important because of what they can offer. So when you hear that someone has turned to the other side, it just makes this like sort of precarious situation against all odds even worse.
Especially when you know that they've been hiding their power.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, almost makes me want to watch 977 episodes.
They're on 1200.
It
Gosh.
would only take me 20 years to get
Not even. Not even.
Just a couple years.
Not even. My friend and I, we started this year, and we're already at like 505.
You haven't even gone
halfway.
through this arc.
Yeah, he hasn't even met this character.
Yeah, that guy,
yet.
he has no idea what that is. Yeah, he has no idea what that is. He's got no clue. All right, I talk too much.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, I'll go next. I've got a simple one. I think going back to basics, quintessential. Although I will say, what I'm noticing is a lot of the characters that I chose were not long burn characters. In their Betrayal, it was like quick and upfront, and it kind of sets the pacing and it sets the story itself up because of these characters who were betrayers. Sometimes I feel like maybe I'm leaning a little bit more towards that single act of betrayal being that big motivator. But at least at the end of the day, you know that these characters are bad characters and betrayers.
Yeah.
So we're going back to the land of... I don't know why I said back. We're going to the land of the Lion King here. Kind of one of those very famous traders based off of Hamlet, and apparently, according to the fan wiki, Adolf Hitler as well. We have Scar from the Lion King. Yeah, I know that was a weird one. I sent the screenshot to Nick. Yeah. I didn't send it to you. But apparently his villainy was based off of Adolf Hitler, according to the fan wiki.
Curiosity, but
I wouldn't see that. But I looked at that one as a possible.
Yes.
I mean, I think Scar is. I think as a child, it's the first like big betrayal you witness like through formative years, especially for people our age.
Well, I think if you look at the big betrayals, they're either in the beginning because they put the hero onto the hero's path.
Yeah.
Or they're at the end, and the hero has to overcome it to
right.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to what we were talking about before, whether it's like a good betrayal has like trust included. And a lot of times those betrayals at the end are because you've spent time with that character. You spent 200, 300 episodes with that character.
It hurts.
Or you get these ones in the beginning or immediately like Wormtongue and Scar, where it kind of sets the pace. It sets the path
They're
of
the
hero.
inciting incident because of this betrayal and backstab.
Exactly. And in that way, right, the trust is implied. You as the audience just need to kind of believe that the trust was there.
Well, they're brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
In the same way, like with King Theoden and Wormtongue, it is implied that the advisor got into the court, and you hear about the kind of like as they're getting there, they're getting to King Theoden, they're all kind of like singing his praise, they're hearing good things about him, and then you get there and you're like, something is wrong immediately.
He don't look right.
Yeah, he
does not look right.
And for Scar, they are brothers, and then he kills his brother in cold blood. Well, for those just listening, I did a little kind of claws into the hands.
I think Scar is someone that isn't talked about. I sort of brushed over Scar when coming up with my list, but I think you're very right. Yeah. And it has a similar. The glimpses of Scar that we got at the beginning to set his character for the audience is similar to this mentor figure, right? You have Simba being like, I'm going to be king, I guess, but I don't really know. And Scar is like this very relaxed and calm figure being like, well, do what you will. I'm just happy to be, comfortable where I am.
Right.
He's this sort of nonchalant character. He's like a little bit menacing, like to look at a little bit, but his demeanor is very calm and composed, where when you see him go to the hyenas, you're like, wow, this is kind of crazy.
Wait a second.
But the other thing is that although we don't see the long burn, for him it is a long burn.
It is long.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a very long burn. So that kind of puts you in the mindset of how long it's been.
And I think this does attest a little bit to some of like the staying power of movies like The Lion King, and the fact that it is very much a show not tell situation. Yeah. Where it is implied that it's a long burn. You don't really think about it as the audience until you think about it as the audience, that like, oh, he's been kind of sitting on this for a while. Yeah. Like he's been waiting for that moment. And again, it's a betrayal of expectations in the fact that you're like, oh, he's just a cool guy. He's just like,
he's a cool cat.
Yeah. He's just like that chill uncle, And then things go very wrong very quickly. And the greed that we see in a lot of these betrayals takes over. The moment has made itself available to him, and he pounces on it.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of the ones I looked at.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good one. It's a classic.
It is a classic, but I thought it was too serious.
Right.
Too serious. Actually, that is what I wanted to say. One of the characters that I did have on my list of things to that I was thinking about adding was William O'Neill from Judas and the Black Messiah. And I don't know if either of you have seen this movie or know about this movie, but it is basically follows Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party. And William O'Neill is the person who also in real life sold out the Black Panther Party to the FBI, which then led to the arrest and also the massacre of members of the Black Panther Party. And I was like, this is both a real person and also a character in media. And I thought that was perhaps a little too serious.
Yeah, I mean, you could always go Benedict Arnold or someone like that, too. So I tried to stay with fiction.
Yeah. A lot of... I did briefly glance at a lot of like historical betrayals, and I'm like, this gets just like really grim really quickly.
Exactly. It gets kind of in that realm of like too serious a little too quickly.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, now I'm just sad.
Yeah, you're just like sitting in the moment for a moment.
Yeah.
But what do you?
Okay, my third one.
Whoa, second.
He's skipping.
Oh my god.
My second one, it's still kind of so.
Still kind of his third one.
Still kind of
a funny one. So,
oh, okay, that's what you meant.
Yeah.
you guys don't. You were not born when Total Recall in the 80s came out.
That's true. I
with
was not born in
Arnold,
the
with Arnold
80s.
Schwarzenegger, and Sharon Stone is his wife. But but anyways, in that movie, when he gets to Mars, he has a cab driver driving him around, and in the end, or near the end, the cab driver Benny betrays all of them to the bad guy.
Oh.
So I put Benny on here. You know, he's a mutant, so they think he's on the side to free Mars and the people on Mars or whatever, but really he's just there to get the money. And so this one character is supposed to be the savior for Mars and all the mutants on there, and Benny betrays him, and the savior gets destroyed.
Okay.
Wow.
What wild.
So it's not a very big part, but it's one that it allows Arnold Schwarzenegger to become the hero figure,
Right.
rather than just being an actor in the story. Because the whole time, the whole premise is that he's just going through these actions to figure out who he is, and everything is leading toward getting this savior guy destroyed. And then at the end of it, Arnold Schwarzenegger has to step up and be the hero. As
Classic.
All the movies are.
A classic Arnold movie.
So, but once again, it's a portrayal that it's kind of fun in the scheme of things, but it allows the hero, as we talked about, to become the hero.
Right.
I think it is similar to others that you have chosen in the regards that like it's not like a direct betrayal of the protagonist.
Right.
You know, Scar doesn't care about Simba as much as he does Mufasa. Benny doesn't care about Arnie's character, it sounds like, as much as he did as the
The
savior.
Quattro or whatever his name was.
Right? Like there is this like very weird alignment where you're like, I'm on this position that like I'm on this protagonist side, but the betrayal is not directed personally to me, but it's to someone else, and because of that I am now pushed forward into that spot or position and put into this like, you gotta make a change, you know, be the guy.
I mean, I think a lot of times that betrayal is what makes the protagonist go, okay, I have to do this because there's no one else to do it. I have no other option but to do this.
Those either end up in like a hero moment or honestly like a revenge, you know, sort of moment. And I think it's so fascinating to see because I think a lot of characters could have become heroes instead of getting swallowed by revenge.
Right.
And I think that's an interesting side from a protagonist angle because of a betrayal.
You know, because I do think that, and it puts the hero or protagonist not at the hero level from the beginning. They have to build there. They have to create those steps to get there.
Well, I also think it's part of kind of a building block of a lot of these 80s kind of like action blockbuster movies, and the fact that it's just a regular guy who becomes a hero.
Like Die Hard.
Like Die Hard.
Just a New York cop.
Fifth Element. Look,
like
I speak
Fifth Element.
two languages, English and bad English.
Yeah, basically any movie Bruce Willis has been in.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone.
It's the classic 80s heroes that are regular guys that are put into moments of heroism, which I think was like a very compelling moment in those times.
In
I mean, same reason why a lot of games like Battlefront and Lord of the Rings Conquest got popular is because you're just a regular
Yeah.
foot soldier in these massive wars,
And anyone can achieve greatness.
and anyone can achieve greatness. Exactly.
Yeah, my favorite author is Alistair MacLean, and his kind of theme around all of his books is that this guy is asked to do something incredible, and they don't want to do it. They're tired of it, but they end up doing it because they're forced to. One of the portrayers I was going to do was for Guns of Navarone. You guys have never seen this movie.
Nope,
not.
I have no idea what that is.
But it has a lot of really big stars in it and whatever. But it was he was betrayed, and he didn't want to do this. And ultimately they accomplished the mission. And it was only because they were forced to do things they really didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But they were able to accomplish a goal. And this is the theme of Alistair MacLean, because he wrote Guns of Navarone, Where Eagles Dare, and a bunch of other books that became movies.
Gotcha.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, our drinks are empty.
It was still good, even
It
if we didn't
was-
taste the coffee.
No, it was very good. Hats off to the chef.
2 for 2 on these cocktails.
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm excited about.
Yeah.
I am very excited for this one.
All right. Well, we're going to take a second to prepare the third cocktail. Apparently, there's a lot of moving parts that are involved with this
A little
one.
bit more than usual.
We'll be back in a moment here. And we are back. Howdy, y'all. We have once again a very different looking drink in front of us. I like how it looks like Dad's is the cleanest, and mine's a little more messy, and then yours is extraordinarily messy.
Yep.
Why did this take us a little bit longer to reset and start filming again?
So it's an affogato. So it's got a scoop of ice cream in it.
Okay.
It can't be bad.
Okay. Well, okay.
He's setting his predictions immediately. It cannot be bad.
So I said, well, while looking up cocktails and whatnot, I said, even if this whiskey has no coffee flavor whatsoever, we should get a coffee cocktail in just to embrace the coffee flavor to its utmost.
Sure.
And this is a coffee affogato. So it has our coffee whiskey, some Bailey's Irish cream, some cold brew coffee, and then some coffee ice cream to top it off.
It can't be bad.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, it's just got a lot of good stuff in it.
It's just coffee.
The Baileys should be very rich, and the ice cream should be very rich, and hopefully counteracted by the whiskey and the coffee.
It's a coffee mudslide with no cherry.
This is right up your alley.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I was about to say, we didn't clink once this episode except for right now. I feel like I've really enjoyed how kind of really into the fact that we really think about what the definition of a lot of these things are. I think oftentimes we could just kind of do betrayers and then go from there, split up, choose our characters. But a lot of times the discussions we have leading up to these is the fact that we're like, well, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
What sort of specifics, what sort of parameters are we putting around this?
We do try and really figure out like our personal definition, maybe not the sort of textbook definition,
Yeah.
but like what we really want to pursue. And a lot of times it's like the essence of what we think embodies this title. We talked about it like on our first episode with heroes. We were like, what defines a hero?
Yep.
Because heroes take many shapes and form. And even in that episode, we talked about like our own personal takes on heroes.
Yes.
And why we chose specific people for heroes.
I also think that we try to keep it as focused as possible, because I think there are opportunities to look at these like edge cases or something that's like, what's an anti-hero or what's,
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of times the reason that we're defining this is so that we don't make it so broad that you go, well, we've talked about this character, although sometimes we do overlap on characters, but
Yeah.
It just adds to that. It shows that there's complexity to these characters that get the overlap and are fairly, widespread themes of characters,
Yeah.
though.
And I think a lot of that also leads us to implementing our own bias into choosing characters. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Like, we are not going to get your favorite betrayer in here more than likely.
Probably not.
Well, not only that, but like because of the age difference, we're
Sure.
definitely looking at different material.
Absolutely.
And just the media we consume. I'm most likely to pick a random anime character most of the time. And,
Yeah.
and I think Dad is most likely to pick a 60s, 70s, or 80s, movie character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think a part of that is fun. And I think it's always interesting when we're talking about these prompts to other people to get their sort of opinion as well.
That's also very fun.
Because it's like the characters that come to my mind immediately are definitely not the same characters that come to your mind immediately. And it's a fun way to have these discussions and have these conversations.
Plus your mom, my wife, has a completely different perspective because she immigrated from Germany. So a lot of these things that I would say were my, growing up as a kid kind of scenarios, she was in Germany. She did not get exposed to that kind of media at that time.
Right.
She was in Germany.
Yeah, what does she have? Asterix and Obelix?
Asterix and Obelix.
Moomin.
When I say the Justice League is what I watched on Saturday morning with the
Super Friends.
the Super Friends and the Wonder Twins, those are something that she never saw.
Yeah, she does not even know.
Poor girl.
All right, what do we think about the drinks?
Extremely coffee forward. I think you would definitely understand that from.
It can't be bad.
Yeah, like it's really creamy.
Yep.
I think it's definitely not too sweet.
Yeah.
I think it recommended that I could garnish with chocolate shavings. I think I could have done that. I think that would have been pretty
I agree.
sweet.
I think that would have elevated it.
I do believe that this is the one that has the whiskey the most exposed.
I think so too. Oddly enough, like there are some pretty potent flavors, but there is definitely like you can tell that there's whiskey in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd. It reminds me of the mint julep, where there's like this like very forward flavor of something else, but the constant is this whiskey, especially when you are letting it breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I coffee, whiskey. Okay, you're there. I'm there. I'm
First
there.
in line.
Yeah. So I mean, I do believe it's a dessert drink for me,
Yeah.
but I could drink this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this drink. I think it could be elevated with chocolate shavings or like a chocolate ganache.
Chocolate
or something.
syrup or something.
Yeah, something on top of that. I think that would be awesome. But that's mainly because I don't like coffee as much. And I would like something a little sweeter in there. I just got my first kind of like taste of the ice cream. And I think that helps me in terms of the drink as well.
I mean, it should be improved as this section goes on because the ice cream is slowly melting and incorporating into the cocktail.
Peanut butter bourbon.
Honestly, I think you could definitely switch up the whiskey into a chocolate whiskey or some sort of flavored whiskey that really shifts this cocktail into something more flavored where the whiskey is the most prominent volume.
Yeah.
Instead of just coffee on coffee.
I will say it is interesting because when we talked about the last drink, I think a lot of the other flavors overpowered the whiskey. Here I was kind of assuming a similar thing. But like you said, it does come through. You can taste it. It just, I think you're right that you could do something very similar with a peanut butter whiskey, like you said, or a chocolate whiskey of some kind.
Yeah.
Because if you did a peanut butter one, you could put chocolate peanut butter ice cream in it.
Yeah.
It's true.
And that would be good too.
I think we're just saying if you had good stuff into it, it'll probably taste good. But yeah, I also think that Bailey's is not overpowering whatsoever. It just adds just a little bit more richness and creaminess to the already like melting ice cream.
Yeah. Tastes good, and that's what we're looking for. All right, I will kick things off here in terms of our third and final betrayer. And we're going back to some of those nostalgia classics. We're going to the movie Coco, which you have just recently seen.
Yes.
Oh, I did. I came home when you were watching.
Yes. I will say I love Coco as a movie. It's one of those movies that I always cry to every time I watch it. But there is a one kind of like single main betrayer in this movie, and if you haven't seen her already, shame on you, I think, is the main.
We don't feel bad about spoiling this
Yes.
one. We'll just put a timestamp to this moment.
Yeah, just you click into it.
Well, the movie's 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is pretty old at this
Yeah.
point. But of course, Coco is the main character is sent into the afterlife, into this world. It's Halloween night, sent into the afterlife where the boundary between death and life are blended, and he's looking for his father, and he's looking for basically the connection to music that his family has, and he believes that it's this man by the name of Ernesto de la Cruz who is playing music in the afterlife.
So what I think is interesting about this, because it is a different take on it, because he doesn't meet the musician till the end. So
Yeah.
it's all about building up the perception.
Yeah, it is. It is all about this perception. And you're right. He kind of like, he hears about him. Ernesto de la Cruz is like very famous. A lot of his songs are still being played in the mortal life, and then they're also being played in the afterlife as well.
And he's got a shrine in the real world.
Right. Exactly. He has this very like kind of zhuzhed up, like you said, shrine.
Mausoleum.
Mausoleum. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. And he is working with perhaps a more unsavory character that you think of at first, who is like, oh, hey, like, I just want my picture to be put up so people remember me so I don't just disappear into the afterlife. And, you know, the whole time, that's actually the person he's been looking for this whole time. And when he meets Ernesto de la Cruz, he's not a good guy. He is a complete betrayal of these expectations. He is that classic greedy, just wants the attention, and turns out killed his best friend.
Yeah, he betrayed him also.
Yeah, exactly.
The epitome of betrayal.
Yeah.
Yep. And you are kind of like, whoa, wait a second. I thought this was the guy we were looking for, because of this perception that's been built up throughout the entirety of this movie, only to be totally let down in the end.
Yeah. We loved the movie. It was great.
It's great.
I
a good
didn't
one.
cry. I didn't cry.
Okay, you don't need to.
Why'd you say that?
I'm
For
just
what
saying. I think that I just think that there once again it's you never know who these people are from afar.
Right.
It's true.
And I think that
yeah.
idolizing a lot of like celebrities and whatever,
Yeah.
that's what it's trying to show, is that they're not who you think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They may be, but really you don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is your expectations can betray you if, you know, you are. I think a lot of times the messaging in this movie comes to the people in your life that you have created this found family, whether it's real family or found family, are oftentimes like the people that will stick with you, the people that will love you and that will really kind of lift you up in your times of need, rather than kind of looking out into the distance to a celebrity or someone who's being held up on a podium and thinking that that person is the person that will give you the validation and the love that you need, when those people are right beside you the entire time.
Yeah.
And I think that movie kind of really kind of hits you hard with this betrayal at the end here. And you're like, oh no, he just
All that effort.
Yeah, all that effort, everything that he's gone through was not worth it in the end. It was just a betrayal of your expectations as the audience, because there is something in you that's like, oh, please, like, let this be the right guy. Like, we want we want the main character to succeed to get back into the real life because he's just a kid. He just loves music, and there's something endearing about that. And it just isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't it, but it is. He resolved a lot of things by finding out.
It's true.
Sorry, I misspoke when I said it's his father. It's like his great
grandfather.
grandfather. Yeah,
Because Mama Coco,
yeah, exactly.
is like me, like an old lady, just sitting in a chair, being like, Miguel.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I don't even need to rewatch the movie. I've just seen it right now.
I don't know. That's like a lot of the stuff that I remember. I just remember
I will say I will say that I've cried. I cry at a lot of movies. Encanto, every time I watch that, I sob at the end of it as well.
I still haven't seen that one.
I was like, have you seen that one
I think
yet?
we did. I think we watched it. What was this one about?
The Bruno.
It's about a family that is magical, and the main character.
We did not see that one yet.
She doesn't get powers, and so she is kind of.
Does she throw the broom and ride? Is it?
No,
she's Mashal. She's Mashal in the family.
Yeah. I love how much that sticks with you because I love.
He hasn't watched it yet. We gotta watch it with him.
We do have to watch
Yeah,
that.
we do.
I love that idea.
Well, I think you got me into reading the manga.
Yeah.
And then I read a lot of the manga, and then they made like season 1 of the anime, which kind of hits like the big parts that you like anyways, because after that it's a bit of the repeat here.
It gets a little samey, unfortunately.
It gets a little samey. But if you're not familiar, shout out to Marshall. It's basically Hogwarts if the main character, like Harry Potter, didn't have magic powers.
And instead had muscles to solve all the problems.
All the problems. It's like slapstick to the utmost. And I think the anime does a great job of adapting the manga in the fact that it's almost a 1-to-1 replication, except they dig deeper into the slapstick humor
and it's just, I think the anime does it sometimes better than the manga.
I agree.
Because it's so physical based.
Yep.
Like, it's muscular Harry Potter. It's way more fun when you actually see this guy like benching 100 pounds in like 3 seconds than just being like 98, 99, 100. You're like, it just adds to the utmost when you just see him be like, all right, this thing is falling off a cliff. I'm just going to go like tracker, like racer squat and then just like shoot down the cliff to go get something, like it adds so much more. Anyway,
it's fun, and that was definitely like an off track comment, but great anime, great manga. I'd recommend it, at least like the first part of it. It's funny.
Yeah, I think it wears out a little bit.
Yeah.
It did for me at least.
Yeah,
but the initial hit is very fun.
All right, Dad, what is your final and third?
So we had talked about a betrayal causing this character to become a hero.
Yeah.
And so this one is Cypher from The Matrix. He's the one that's told the machine, yes, I'll sell them out. Just put me back into the stasis and
give me a steak dinner.
He was eating his steak dinner. He said, I know this isn't real. I know it's all imaginary, but I'll give you them. Just put me back where I can live in this world, but don't let me remember anything from before. And so he's the one who betrays everybody, actually stabs Tank.
Is this from the original Matrix?
Yeah, first Matrix.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen this movie.
It was my error.
But it's like the fundamentals. I feel like I didn't watch any of the other Matrixes, but the first one does stick.
It does. I mean, and it's also, once again, this can't be real.
Yeah.
I'm not a hero.
Yeah.
I'm not the one.
Yeah, Neo is definitely not an anagram for one.
Yeah, and so
that's crazy.
But then when this occurs and everyone starts getting killed around him, then he has to do that step.
Yeah.
He has to be that hero. And then all of a sudden
he's beginning to believe.
Yeah, that's the one line. He's beginning to believe. You know,
When was the last time you saw The Matrix? Why do you remember all this?
Dude, maybe like 13 years.
Yeah,
maybe
no.
like 13 years.
it's been a while, but
Yep.
things like that are, you know, hey, I think he's going to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just like this. Cypher is like, he's charming in his own way, right? Just because he's just like I'm happy to be here, you know, kind of like, you're like, why? How did you get freed? Like, why are you still on the? Oh God, what's the name of the ship?
It's a name, you know.
God, do not remember
It's
it.
just like, how did you end up with like this like rogue band of people? And
Yeah, how did he become out of the Matrix?
Yeah.
What was it like? Oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Oh,
Put
get
him
them-
back in.
yeah, plug him back in. Like, don't let him be here.
Yep.
But yeah, it's one of those crazy things, and it was so critical. Not only did it portray Neo, but it actually changed the arc of the movie.
Yeah, because
Yep.
the stakes went infinitely higher. It was like, we're okay. We're like drifting around and they're kind of looking for us, but like we're okay for now. And the betrayal was like, oh no, it's go time.
Yeah.
Like they know where you are. You're getting sold out. Like they are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, you know, they kind of play it down because the Oracle goes, he's not the one.
Yeah, it's true.
So it was really, you're at this low point about going, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And that betrayal kind of amped it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
Good one.
When we do these top threes or like a title, like whatever we put on these characters, there's like a instinctual like number one. Like that's gonna be the one for me. And I think this is no shock to people who have played it. I will be choosing the ultimate antagonist of BioShock 1. Atlas, or as you later learn, Frank Fontaine.
See, I've
Whoa.
never played this game.
Use his whole government name.
So, rough story of BioShock. You're just a random guy on a plane, and your plane crashes. You find a lighthouse. The lighthouse has an elevator in it that takes you to Rapture, an underwater utopia city that was created to get away from the current government in, I believe, the 40s. I believe it was the 40s
Yeah.
or 50s. And the first charming character you meet is this Dublin accented character named Atlas. And he loves the phrase, "Would you kindly?" And he asks you to do all sorts of things against the tyrannical Andrew Ryan, who coined the phrase, "A man commands, a slave obeys," where the man is entitled to the sweat of his brow and hard work commands all. And it's this very corrupt, tyrannical almost system where people are hunted down and only the rich and wealthy succeed, and the poor get hunted down by these subnautical giant beasts named Big Daddies.
Big Daddies.
And you are this character that is tasked by Atlas to take down Andrew Ryan and save the day. You are here to take this tyrannical force out. You are this newcomer. Nobody knows about you, but you have the skills to work your way through Andrew Ryan's environment and take down his commanders and lieutenants and really bring back the sort of sanctity that Rapture always promised to its inhabitants.
No.
And that's the sort of how it sets the scene. And then you get to Andrew Ryan. And the first thing he says, "Would you kindly take a seat? Would you kindly stand up? Would you kindly run around? Would you kindly kneel before me?" And your character has to. Because what you find out in that moment is you're Andrew Ryan's son, Jack Ryan, and you've been created to basically listen to this command without exception. And Andrew Ryan says, "Would you kindly kill?" And you kill Andrew Ryan. And he keeps saying over and over again, a man commands, a slave obeys, as you are beating him to death with a golf club. And in that moment, you realize Atlas, this Dublin freedom fighter, has been asking you, would you kindly, over and over again. And you're like, well, it's just his phrase.
Yep.
He just likes to say it. But the implications is that once you kill Andrew Ryan, you begin to self-destruct Andrew Ryan's whole company and enterprise. Atlas is just laughing at you. And instead of this Dublin accent, a Bronx voice comes through and is calling you an idiot. For, in truth, Atlas is Andrew Ryan's competitor, Frank Fontaine, and is now in power because you've just destroyed his competitor in any competition down here.
Crazy.
It is absurd. It would be criminal not to include Atlas on this list. He is, for all the effort that you put in through on that game, he is such a crucial betrayal that it is just that moment where everything clicks into place, and everything that you did, whether you thought it was suspicious or not, you ended up doing it. But it's because Atlas asked you if you would do it kindly.
Yeah, and you never got to see us, like, there were a lot of games that you watched us play through, but BioShock kind of happened a little bit later in kind of our lives, so you never got to watch through the playthrough of BioShock or the preceding games that happened after it.
I never played 2, but Infinite is crazy.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to play 2 and Infinite because, I mean, there's a reason BioShock makes like a lot of those like very classic lists of these games that are just set in stone that have made like history.
They stand the test of time.
They stand the test of time.
No matter the graphics are wonky controls.
Which, believe me, those exist.
BioShock, not the most reliable sometimes, but yeah. That's like the number one that I immediately thought of.
Yeah.
All right. Which drink?
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're jumping into it. All right, Dad, you proposed the question.
Oh, my God.
Which drink was your favorite out of the 3 that we had today?
I love the mint julep, but I love the sweetness of the last one, so I'm going to go with the last one.
The coffee affogato.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I'll say it. I liked all these drinks. I thought they were great. I think the mint julep itself was my favorite. I don't think that comes as a surprise. I'm a big fan of mint, but also I just feel like it was a very clean and clear taste. I could see myself drinking a lot of that.
Yeah.
Plus, you're not a big coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a big coffee fan. This was good, of course. But the mint julep definitely has my vote.
Oh, it's tough. Honestly, I really liked all 3.
Yep.
I think the middle one just didn't highlight the whiskey, and it was just
I
like
agree.
a solid cocktail that I would be happy to drink.
Yeah.
But I think with the middle one, it could have been any whiskey.
Yeah, I think that might be why I don't choose it. I think it was so easy to drink, and it was fun to make, just because I was handling like a sort of time bomb of a shaker.
A volatile substance.
I think I will go with the coffee affogato just because I thought it was so refreshing just to hit that little like chunk of ice cream every now and then when I'm drinking. And I thought that was so refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the show, folks. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
We'll do the thing.
Oh, he loves doing it. He loves doing it.
Do the thing.
Don't forget to like. Don't forget to add a comment. We'd love to hear what you think.
Honestly, hit a comment.
Yeah, I think, especially for this episode in particular, I feel like it really hits on the fact that there are so many other characters we could have chosen. We talked about Uncharted earlier. We didn't even mention like the number 1 anime betrayal ever, which is like Griffith from the Berserk series.
It's true, yeah.
Or manga, anime, whatever. There are so many characters out there that we didn't even touch on. These are a lot of the characters that we talk about a lot. We talk about Lord of the Rings all the time.
Well, the whole big discussion about Boromir.
Yeah.
We talk about Boromir.
Such
exactly.
a complexity.
Yeah, I think Star Wars comes up a lot, and these are a lot of just nostalgic picks from us as well. So it is always interesting to see something else.
Also, subscribe.
Oh,
yes, and they hit the subscribe button.
I think that's everything.
You did it?
Yeah, are you sated?
I'm saying it, yeah.
Well, thank you all so much. We'll see you next time with another episode of the Three Hamster Boys podcast. See you soon, y'all.
Later.
Later. Whoa. Buzzer beater.